Hey, want to hear a really messed up children's story with no moral? Too bad, I'm going to tell you one anyways.
Story time with Novel Holiday. Woo!
One of my favorite books is a book called Fairy Tales from the Brothers Grimm. Is it because of the timeless tales of magic and wonder? No, it's because the stories in here are completely insane and terrifying. I'm sure some of you have heard about how graphic and horrifying some of the classic fairy tales are. Like in Cinderella, the stepsisters get their eyes picked out by crows, or in Hansel and Gretel, where they describe the witch dying by saying she burned to death. No sugarcoating, just burning alive. Granted, the reason a lot of the stories were so messed up was because it would make the moral stick with the kids more. But what if there was a story that took out the moral? A story that was only messed up and made no sense? Well, what do you know, there is! It's called The Juniper Tree. The story starts with a man and a woman who want to have a child. They pray for a child every day, but unfortunately, they can't get pregnant. One day in winter, the woman stands under a juniper tree in the front yard, cutting an apple. As she's doing this, she cuts her finger. Instead of saying, "Ow," or "I should wrap this cut up," she says, "If only I could have a baby as red as blood and as white as snow." Which maybe means pink, but when I read it, it just makes me think of a very disturbing baby. So after that odd occurrence, the woman goes back into the house, feeling happy. Then we get an honestly creative way of showing the woman going through pregnancy. It describes each month after the woman cut herself. The first 4 months it shows winter turning into spring, spring into summer. By the 5th month it shows the woman having odd mood swings by being so overjoyed that the juniper tree smells good that she falls to her knees. The 6th month comes and the same thing happens to her when the fruit starts to grow on the tree. Then the 7th month rolls in and the story shows her having odd cravings by having the woman eating juniper berries until she's sick. Then the 8th month comes and she asks her husband to bury her under the juniper tree if she dies. Whoa, wait, what? The husband agrees, but if I were him I would have asked some more questions like, what? And, why do you think you're going to die? And, what kind of deals have you been making with the mafia? So the 9th month arrives and the woman has a baby as red as blood and as white as snow. Ew. The woman is so overjoyed at the sight of her baby that she dies. Well, the story just jumped off a cliff. So the man mourns the loss of his wife for a bit, then has a new one. Of course he does. This is the Brothers Grimm. And now that the man has remarried, guess what that makes the new wife? A stepmother! Boom! Automatic bad guy. And this is where the story goes from the usual fairy tale stuff to disturbingly odd and cruel. The man and the stepmom have a daughter, which becomes the only character with an actual name. What's her name? Marlene. Moving on. The story tells us that the stepmom abuses and hates the son. It goes into detail on how she abuses him, and even says that the boy is afraid to go home after school. And it's at this point that I would like to remind you that this is a children's story. Keep that in mind as we forge on. Marlene comes home from school and asks if she can have an apple. The stepmom gives her one, and Marlene asks if her brother can have one too. This makes the stepmom angry, but she says yes when he comes home from school. Then she sees the son coming home, and takes the apple away from Marlene and says she can't have an apple before her brother. Okay. Marlene goes upstairs, and the son comes inside and asks for an apple. The stepmom says sure, and opens the apple chest for him. She tells him to reach in and grab one from the back, because that's where the best ones are. So, he reaches in, and she slams the chest on his neck and decapitates him. She then runs upstairs, grabs a scarf, goes back downstairs, grabs a chair, puts it by the kitchen door, puts the body on the chair, puts the head on the body, wraps the scarf around the neck, and puts an apple in the boy's hand. Still with me? Good, because it gets worse. Marlene comes downstairs and asks her brother for his apple. Of course he doesn't respond, and she goes in the kitchen and tells her mother. The stepmom tells her, and get ready for this, to ask him again, and if he doesn't respond, smack him in the face. So she goes back, asks him for the apple, and when he doesn't respond, she smacks him in the face. And then his head falls off. Marlene runs screaming to her mother, who then puts all of the blame on Marlene. Then she tells her that they have to dispose of the body. And how do they dispose of the body? Why, they put it in the stew, of course! So the stepmother has Marlene help cook the son into the stew. All the while, Marlene is crying. Crying so much, in fact, that her tears salt the stew. Oh, God. Then, the father comes home and reasonably asks where his son is as he sits down for dinner. The stepmother tells him that he went away to his mother's great-uncle's family. Unreasonably, the father accepts this. Father of the year, everyone. Then he eats the stew. He says it's the best stew he's ever eaten. Then he eats all of the rest of the stew and throws the bones under the table. But wait! We haven't even reached the peak of horror yet. Marlene, still crying, takes a silk scarf, grabs the bones, and runs outside. As she runs to the juniper tree, she runs out of tears and so begins to cry blood. Children's story, people. Children's story. We've reached the peak of horror, though, so it gets a lot more fairy tale-y from here. Marlene sets the scarf and bones on the ground, and then the juniper tree starts to shake. A gold mist appears around the branches, and from the mist, a bird flies into the sky. Marlene feels happy again, and instead of questioning what she just saw, she runs back inside. The bird, meanwhile, flies into a town and lands by a goldsmithing window and sings a song about how his mother killed him, his father ate him, and his sister buried him. This gets the goldsmith to give a gold chain necklace to the bird. The bird then goes to a cobbler's house and sings the song, which gets the cobbler to give the bird some slippers. Then the bird goes to a mill and sings the song. This gets the workers to give him a millstone. A millstone. There is now a magical bird flying around with a millstone, a gold chain, and slippers. At least it's not horrifying like the other parts. So the bird flies home and the family is sitting at the table. The father feels wonderful for some reason, the stepmom feels like she's burning and freezing at the same time, and Marlene is crying again. The father doesn't seem to care that his wife is experiencing severe pain and only smiles more when the bird starts to sing. The stepmom only experiences more pain, and Marlene cries even harder. The father becomes so excited that he runs outside while his family is both screaming in pain and crying blood. Father of the year. When the bird song is done, he drops the gold chain onto the father. The father runs inside showing off his chain to his family, and the bird starts the song again. And right now I would like to point out that I haven't repeated the song lyrics over and over because that would be annoying. But that's exactly what the story does, and it's pretty annoying. When the bird starts the song again, Marlene runs outside to see if the bird will give her anything. When he finishes the song, he drops the slippers by her feet. The stepmom, meanwhile, is experiencing more and more pain as the song continues, and her hair is now standing on end. She runs out of the house screaming, and then the bird drops the millstone on her. And the story doesn't say he dropped the millstone on her, and that's it. No. It wants the kids to know that she was, and I quote, crushed to death. So then smoke starts rising from where she died, and then the boy appears, and the body is gone. The story ends with them all holding hands, and the father not giving any attention to the fact that his wife just died. And what did we learn from this story? Nothing. Except maybe don't kill your kids, but that's kind of a given in life. This story is so messed up, and that's why I love this book. A ton of these stories are nonsensical or oddly and creatively cruel, and it's so much fun to read. I'd be sitting reading this book, and then all of a sudden I get to the decapitation part, and I would shout, "What?" The Juniper Tree is probably the worst in terms of horror in this book, but there are a ton more horrifying and nonsensical stories in the Brothers Grimm. And hey, if you don't like to read or don't have the time to read, I'll be here to read you some more stories on Storytime with Novel. See ya!
Subscribe.
Hi there. I just wanted to thank anyone and everyone who watched this video. I spent a good amount of time on it, and I'm hoping to make much better videos in the future. I'm learning to use an animation software, and I'm going to try and make partially animated videos much like this one. And real quick, I want to let you guys know that I have a gaming channel with my friend Ninja Joe called Super Wicked Insanely Fun Team. So if you want to check that out, here you go. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.